failed, and they then try and go legal, and yeah, it's very hard for the clever people alone, the people who really are ill, when they're trying to get all this information. Over to you, Len.
Okay, Andy, we're going to have a very quick refresher of what happened to me, because I'm getting a lot of emails from America, and Facebook will I join groups, because what's going on here is going on all around the world. And I will go back to when where this all started. I was married, had 3 children. I was working as a commercial pilot, but I wasn't feeling well. There was something not right. I was dizzy, having problems with memory. My wife picked this up, and so did others. And anyway, my wife planned to divorce me. She hid assets from the course. Then she attacked me with multiple false allegations. And I got arrested. I then got cleared of these allegations. But I went to see a psychiatrist, and that was the biggest, in one way, it was the biggest mistake I made. The psychiatrist, Dr. Jeremy Royds from Signet Healthcare in Goodden Green, he was more interested in on how much money he would make in a short period of time from my health insurance than actually treating me. And I spent 4 weeks as an inpatient. He did not look at the evidence that I may be suffering from effects of flying aircraft, aerotoxic poisoning. He didn't even open those documents. They remained sealed. And for some reason, he gave me a diagnosis of bipolar. And at the request of my wife's lawyers, without a medical, he certified me under Part 7 of the Mental Health Act 1983, when NHS consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Amalolofi, examined me and said my cognition was grossly intact. But from that minute, that Dr. Royce signed that Court of Protection medical certificate, all control of my affairs was taken away from me. I had no control, and it was all placed under the official solicitor of the High Court. Now, allegedly, the official solicitor is a person of last resort. If you can't find someone to look after you or your affairs, then the official solicitor is invited to step in and act as your guardian ad litem. The reality to this, Andy, the official solicitor is all too often the person of first resort. And the solicitors will have you placed under the official solicitor, who will take control of your affairs and basically allow solicitors, in my case, the law firm BP Collins, the solicitor Sarah Benfield, Ratcliffe Juice and Gamma, the barristers Chambers, Dominic Brazil, 1 King's Bench Walk, Nicholas Allen, 29 Bedford Road, and a Penrith Premier League player, Caroline Wilburn, 1 Garden Court. And basically it gave them unlimited funding to asset strip me and to go down the litigation route in the family courts, where everything is secret. But because of the Court of Protection certificates, and I was certified under Part 7 of the Mental Health Act, only certain judges can act for you, i.e. nominated judges of the Court of Protection, or High Court family judges, or High Court Chancery judges, no one else. But then if the official solicitor, at the time Lawrence Ode and later Alistair Barbado, and their staff don't disclose these Court of Protection certificates, then the Court of Protection will not know, and you will be asset stripped. Now, I had lots of people coming forward to represent me. One, worshipful brother Ron, who was a Freemason of provincial grand rank. We had Dr. Alistair Wilson, or Mr. Alistair Wilson, consultant surgeon, the clinical director of the Royal London Hospital Trauma and Accident Emergency Department, and the founder of the London Air Ambulance. We had another doctor, Dr. McGee, a consultant anaesthetist, army doctor, and all these people came forward to help me, but they weren't allowed anywhere near me. And the judge who heard this hearing was a man called District Judge Fortgang, but Fortgang himself wasn't a court of protection judge. So there I was trapped, and all I was doing was watching all my assets going out the door. One hearing before District Judge Fortgang with Dominic Brazil and the barrister Nicholas Allen. It lasted less than 10 minutes, and at the end of it, the Court of Protection application, I had a £10,000 cost order put on me. And who was present? Solicitor Helen Mary Cliff, who came for the office of the official solicitor at the High Court. Helen Mary Clift is now the deputy official solicitor. So she's in an even more powerful position. The photograph you see on the screen now is a barrister called Dominic Brazil. He was one called King's Bench Walk. Then he got moved. Anyway, got thrown out. And he's now at another chambers. And Brazil had been certified without a medical and totally asset stripped me. The medical records, the records held by the barrister Nicholas Allen, now Casey, the Queen's Counsel, says incapable legal discussion with the official solicitor or any solicitor. And because of that, Brazil proceeded to put hundreds of thousands of pounds of cost orders on me. He has quite an interesting history. He was suspended for dishonesty from the Bar Standards by the Bar Standards Board in another case. And his name is known in other cases, one involving the worshipful brother, his Honour Judge Simon Oliver, and the mother who had to leave this country with her children and go abroad, like many other mothers had with their children for their own safeguarding. So yeah, these are very nasty people, very arrogant. I will always remember when Dominic Brazil and a solicitor within Karina Spronson pinned me against the wall in Slough County Court and threatened me to withdraw the allegation I'd made against Brazil to the Bar Standards Board. Anyway, there we are, the worshipful brother Simon Oliver, the cause of mine and many other people's suffering. Oliver surfaced as the designated family judge at Reading, replacing his Honour Judge Ellie. And Oliver surfaced there around about 2012. And then these problems escalated. He has been well protected by successive chief constables of Thames Valley and of other police forces. And he held a prominent role in Berkshire Freemasonry. And he still remains a Freemason, but he keeps a lower profile. But this is the individual who decided he would deal with my case in 2012. Now, a report was prepared for the Lord Chief Justice and Secretary of State for Justice in my case by the Office of Judicial Complaints. And it was a whitewash. I was never allowed to see what had been written, but I subsequently had it disclosed to me. And in that report to the Lord Chief Justice and the Secretary of State for Justice, the Office of Judicial Ombudsman made no reference that I had suffered brain damage from the effects of aircraft toxic cabin air. I was a patient under Part 7 of the Mental Health Act. Notably, I was a protected party, and I'd been incapable of legal discussion and understanding for more than a year when 1 King's Bench Walk, 29 Bedford Road, and 1 Garden Court Chambers have been involved in my asset stripping. When the Secretary of State of Justice became aware that he had been misled by the Judicial Ombudsman, the matter was referred to Martin John, who was then the Public Guardian, and later held a post in adult social care at the Cabinet Office. A legal aid certificate was issued by the Legal Aid Special Cases Unit for exceptional funding. My case posed a substantial question to be answered by the Court of Appeal. But instead of my case going to the Court of Appeal, it ends up with the worshipful brother, His Honour Judge Simon Oliver at Reading County Court. Oliver, who has purported that he was appointed the president of the Queen's Bench, now King's Bench Division, by Lord Justice Singer, is delusional, because the president of the Queen's Bench Division at the time was Mr. Justice Leveson, not Simon Oliver. Oliver also concluded that he could conduct court of protections cases. He wasn't authorised to conduct court of protection cases, and James Beattie from the Court of Protection made that very clear in an email. But Oliver dismissed all that, and he proceeded to hear a hearing funded by the Legal Aid Special Cases. No one was allowed in that courtroom, no outside the press, and it lasted just over an hour. And Oliver queried whether the Court of Protection was no more than a rubber stamping exercise. He knew full well it had to go to the Court of Protection, but he never sent it there. Anyway, on or about the 31st of August 2012, Oliver, His Honour Judge Oliver, dismissed my appeal. Had this individual held a Court of Protection authorisation, or indeed had been a High Court family judge, he would have known that under Part 7 of the Mental Health Act 1983, permission to appeal was not required, so there was no need for that hearing. Anyway, Oliver rejected my appeal. I contacted Mrs. Justice Paulfley, who we now know contacted the Worshipful Master, Simon Oliver, and she directed Simon Oliver, His Honour Judge Simon Oliver, to send my case to the Court of Appeal. So Oliver sent some papers to the Court of Appeal, to Master Sally Meacher in the Civil Court of Appeal, and Sally Meacher telephoned Oliver and told Worshipful Brother Simon Oliver that the Court of Appeal weren't authorised to conduct hearings under Part 7 of the Mental Health Act. Had to go to Court of Protection judge or a High Court family judge. And so Oliver had the case handed back to him to retransfer. But Worshipful Brother Simon Oliver had no intention of sending it anywhere, and he sent it back to the Court of Appeal. And this time he sent it to Master Mary Bancroft Rimmer in the Civil Court of Appeal. And he printed off 2 emails where he said this has to go to the Court of Appeal. But on one of them, he used a red ink biro or pen and gave instructions to Master Bancroft Rimmer at the Court of Appeal that the appeal be refused. Master Bancroft Rimmer does not and never has held a call of protection medical certificate. Sorry, authorization. That was disclosed to me in 2023 when the attempt was made by Avon and Somerset Police under Chief Constable Sarah Crew to have me detained under the Mental Health Act to stop me whistleblowing about all these little children and mothers who have left this country, whose cases have been with Oliver and had to move abroad. And the elderly who have been put into care homes, their assets taken, some of whom have died in these care homes. And unfortunately, it didn't quite go right for Avon and Somerset Police. Oliver is a very prominent Freemason. And isn't it interesting? The officer oversaw my arrest, the search of my home, the seizure of my computer and my mobile phone just happened to be a Freemason from Somerset associated with a police Masonic lodge. He was the worshipful master of that lodge. The lawyer that was chosen for me by Avon and Somerset Police to represent me was not the duty solicitor, was not the Headway specialist brain injury lawyer that my Headway ID card says I'm entitled to. No, the solicitor they chose for me was a provincial grand officer of Somerset Freemasonry. And that association was never disclosed to me. I later found out when I got a disclosure from Avon and Somerset Police. Now, this individual who you can see on your screen now is a man called Graham Stephen Fraser. And he was the individual who, in conjunction with Barrister Dominic Brazil, got me certified under the Mental Health Act. From that point forward, I was a protected party. Having got that certificate, Graham Stephen Fraser actually wrote to the court, having disclosed it to the court. He then later writes denying ever having a certificate. And when he did have one, and he systematically set about certifying me. He also was involved in the hiding of my wife's assets. My wife had a discretionary trust, and a substantial amount, hundreds of thousands of pounds, passed through that trust. And some of that money was taken from me to repay these loans to the trust. But that trust did not exist at the time these loans were made. So yeah, I got set up, but yeah, a very nasty individual. He presently is on the official solicitors list of solicitors to use. So this is what the vulnerable people can expect. Solicitors like this going on a revenue gathering exercise. One further thing about Graham Fraser, my wife had stolen all my financial records. I couldn't produce them. And this individual proceeded to have legal costs put on for me and adverse inferences when he held all my stolen financial documents in his possession. His boss, later, Susan Andrews, got summons to court, and she having denied having my stolen documents, she later had to admit that she'd got them from my wife. Yet this individual proceeded to put cost orders on me because I couldn't produce them when he had them. So that's basically what you can actually expect. But like I say, had it not been for people like Alan Dransfield helping me draft letters and helping to understand the subject access and freedom of information requests, I wouldn't have known where to start. And one of the places where I had to start was trying to work out what was wrong with me. We now found it was brain injury. I'd been in a hospital, the Southwest Regional Hospital for Neurology, Neurosurgery, and I think again back in there in 2012. I've never been allowed to see the results of those testing. was in there for about 3 days. And fortunately, some 12 years later, I've been allowed to see the diagnoses and what they found. And they found brain injury, just like they did in all my colleagues, and like they're now finding with these military pilots, the same. So that has sort of all been sewn up, but it's what's happening in these family courts. And in fact, all these courts. And when you come up against these people, you'll suddenly find yourself under attack by the police, by the Department of Works and Pensions, by Revenue and Customs, and all these other agencies. And I've encountered all of those, but by some considerable margin, the most vicious attack I have ever encountered anywhere has been with Avon and Somerset Police under Chief Constable Sarah Crew, using mental health nurses from Somerset NHS Foundation Trust. They were absolutely vicious. And again, with help, I managed to break that code of silence with a subject access request. They just would not let me see it. I'd used the process, but I went to the Information Commissioner, and fortunately, I got help on this occasion, and I got access to my medical records. And more than 120 people have entered those medical records, and they absolutely attempted to trash me. Multiple threats against the public of anthrax attacks, assaults on my wife and children. I'm dangerous, I'm delusional, seriously mentally ill. They trash me, but again, getting that disclosure, it hasn't trashed me, it's trashed them. And the professional bodies like the Nursing Midwifery Council, how they've tried to cover this all up. The Ombudsman, the Health Service Ombudsman, what a complete waste of time that person is, sending you round the houses. And the police, the professional standards, absolute waste of time. But anyway, look, I've spoken for quite a time now. Let Alan have a chance, and he'll talk more about this subject access and freedom of information requests.
Yeah, maybe, Alan, do you want to read your public safety brief out, or do you want me to?
Good evening, gentlemen. Sorry I'm late to the party, but I did all the right things, but then suddenly you appear. But no worries, I'm here now. I would like to start before I forget what's happened today in Europe with that so-called Prime Minister.
He sold us down the street, didn't he?
He sold us down the river again.
Yeah.
And who the hell does he think that he is? Because we voted 6 or 7 years ago, whenever it was, to leave, and that's how it should be. And then all of a sudden, him and a few others, they get together. No, let's get back into there. Do this, do that. It is absolutely disgraceful. But I do believe there will be a lot said, and whether or not there'll be another vote, I hope there's not, because there's no need to it. You know, we're out. We should stay out and get on with and doing our own business, and we can't possibly wait for another 4 years before Nigel Farage comes in. Anyway, the other good news, and I'm sure you guys, well, I know you're aware of it, but whether you've used it yet, I am a big believer now in AI. They are wonderful. What a wonderful system this is, and they're helping me with all sorts of cases. They're helping me with the original vexatious nonsense to get that screwed over. They're helping me with my road traffic accident with NFU. They're helping me to to get normality back into FOI and to get it used properly. So it is a wonderful idea, and I say to everybody out there that's listening to this, get to know AI, because it's so easy to use. All you need to do is to do a Google search on chat CDP. Is that the right CDT? I'm not sure, but I'll come back to you on that later. And you can ask them any question that you like. And I'm sure, Mr. Lawrence, if you was to put in a short statement about your problem, mate, they would be telling you or advising you. They don't instruct you, and they're not giving you legal advice, but they give you great assistance to who, where, and what to see and what to do. Have you tried it yet, guys? Either of you?
Yeah, Andy did a lot for me. He put my name into AI, and it was very accurate, actually.
Whereas when I put my name in, I'm just a bad boy that that incited what was it? Them children, that London case. They've not put any good bits in about me, so I'm a bit in the middle at the moment. And also last night's show on 911, even though people could produce evidence to show that 911 may not be as it looks, AI chat, which is chat GPT we're talking about, they wanted the government's narrative on 911, the Twin Towers. So I don't know, I'm in the middle at the moment, but when it comes to you, Alan, and Len even, they're very good, they're accurate, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the incredible thing is, and unbeknown to me, some time ago, you know this lady, she's a good friend of mine, Sheila Oliver, she got in touch with GDP on my behalf. And as I say, unbeknown, they've put all this stuff together from information and data that I've put on a blog website, and it's finished. But also, I'm still working with the AI on other issues, unfinished issues. So, I mean, it's very difficult for the average Joe Blogs to get their head round this GDP AI. You think you're writing and you're in correspondence with people, but we're not. I mean, I've affectionately named AI, my AI, as Walter. It's just, it's just a little bit of fun. I've given it or him or the camel's arse or the elephant's nose or whatever it is, but they are able to. I mean, you put a request, not a request into them. You make a statement to them, and they come back to you. Well, would you like us to do this? And it's done. You haven't got time to make a coffee. It's back with you. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did mention to Shaz today that we're having a show, and he said, "Well, I'll listen in." I don't think he can just listen in without going through the procedure, can he?
No, well, he could have done if I'd remembered. I could have sent him the listen link.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So it is possible. So maybe the next time.
Yeah.
I mean, my head is all over the place at this moment in time. In less than 10 days, the 2nd of June, I go to the county court seeking legal redress against National Farmers Union Mutual Insurance Company, because they have been screwing me since 2019 was my road traffic accident. And so that will be 7 years this November. And one of the letters from their lawyers, it's called Toppings, forensic accountants, that this is a straightforward case and there should be no delays. And this was written in 2022. So that already in 2022 was 3 years over the schedule. And it's amazing how these insurance companies are being allowed and the freedom to screw the general public through through the courts. But I've actually got them into court via a private prosecution, and so we'll see what happens there. Second of June.
I actually think, Alan, I don't know if Len agrees, but I think insurance companies act very, very fraudulently all their time. Because, I mean, I'll give you one example. I live on an island in the Orkney Islands, so it's very difficult when we need a repair. So I phone up, the insurance company, which is Domestic and General, and say, look, I need a repair to my wash machine, as an example. Okay, we'll try and get you a repair. What day do you prefer and all that. So you go through that stage, and then the next stage is, oh, we can't get a repair. Can you pay for it and we'll refund you back? Same problem. Nobody will come out to the island. And in the end, they write it off and send you a brand new machine. But they can do that with anything from a kettle to anything from the most expensive household item. And I think that's fraudulent myself, even though I'm benefiting.
Yeah, well, it's a strange one, mate. It really
It's
is.
definitely strange.
Yeah. I'm listening to you, and I'm just watching Channel 4. I don't know where it is, but some old boy in a hospital somewhere, probably in his late 70s, early 80s, and there's a copper in the room, and this guy is sitting down with a knife in his hand, and the cop tasers him in hospital.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. What sort of a life are we living in? Mr. Lawrence, good evening, sir.
Well, I've just tasered you with that file about Bob, which you wanted.
Oh, good man. Absolutely. I also got a summary from what's her name, Zelda Davis, who was very close to Bob, and she gave me a summary 3 days ago, and I put that through to what I call the second AI, who are still putting all my things together. It was incredible what happened to Bob, and we'll never be able to prove it, but we can still make noises.
Yeah, it's the entire files on his case, which was sent to me. I don't buy the bar standards board.
All right. And I have that in my inbox now, do I?
You have that in your inbox now.
Good man. Good man.
Yeah, it's quite interesting how these files get sent. It's as if people are disgruntled with their employers, and when they're leaving, they say it happened to me with Thames Valley, where a file was sent to me. Well,
you've obviously got some very influential contacts, Len. I've always said this, but that's good for you, mate. And let's hope. So what is happening to this toxic gases within live aircraft?
Well, I and many other pilots, not only pilots, cabin crew, engineers, passengers, we've been affected by these toxic fumes. They'd known about the dangers of this since 1955, the Americans had. But taking bleed air from the engine was very effective to heat the cabin as well as pressurize it. And the way it's been described, probably the most accurate, it's the asbestos of the sky. That's
a good one, Linda. Yeah, I've not heard that before.
Yeah, the asbestos of the sky. These chemicals, organophosphates, are neurotoxic, sarin, Novichok, that type of chemical. And they're used as additives in the engine oil. And the air you breathe comes through the jet engine, it's spread off a compressor. There's no filters. The only filters are your lungs. And it comes into the cabin in the flight deck. And that's what's causing the problems. And they've known this. Then you get eminent scientists alleging that it's a placebo. You're delusional about this. In fact, Somerset NHS Foundation Trust, it's been put on my medical records by a mental health nurse, relatively senior, that I'm delusional, all about this aerotoxic. The fact that people have died and hundreds of thousands of pounds have been spent on my medical treatment, and the Civil Aviation Authority's advisor in psychiatry, Professor Gordon Turnbull's very clear that I'm suffering from the effects of toxic air in the aircraft. So what's been done, they brought out the new aircraft, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, which no longer takes the air from the engine. It uses electrical compressors on the wing. But these toxins are there all the time. They're using de-icing fluid. They used to be used in when they used to spray the aircraft cabin when you're coming back, say, from the Far East or India, and to get rid of any flies or mosquitoes. And so you were going to get exposed to these chemicals. But it's the whole issue how they silence whistleblowers or victims. And like I say, the most vicious attack came 3 years ago by Avon and Somerset Police under Chief Constable Sarah Crewe, allegedly on the instructions of Thames Valley Police under Chief Constable John Campbell and Deputy, now Chief Constable Jason Hogg, and the evidence which would have cleared me from many of these allegations have been withheld from me by Thames Valley, Avon and Somerset and Hampshire Police. But I now have that evidence, and at the centre of this attack on me, once again, the worshipful brother, Berkshire Freemason, is Honour Judge Simon Oliver.
Yeah.
And surprise,
his name keeps cropping up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and whilst Freemasonry tried to hide this, the Grand Secretary tries to bury it in the grounds. Too many Freemasons have come forward. When my computer was seized, when my mobile phone was seized and everything, Freemasons came forward to buy me a new phone, new computer. And more importantly, those that many years police service have given their time investigating these people who did it to me. So we've caught them all. We know exactly. But the problem is, Alan, Andy, they do this to other people and they get away with it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not. I mean, we are unusual. You know, we're tenacious is our middle name. Where these other people, they soon fold, don't they? Just while it's fresh on my memory, what you were saying about this new all singing, all dancing plane, that in itself would, I do believe, to me anyway, that they knew they had a problem. So why did they have to come up with this all singing, all dancing plane?
They knew they had a problem in the military with the helicopters.
Yeah.
A lot of Army, Royal Navy, Air Force, and obviously helicopters in other countries and armed forces, they're all dying. They've got tumours all over their body. There was a documentary released recently about a Royal Navy helicopter pilot who, I think it was Prince William's instructor.
That's right.
Yeah, he had all these tumours all over his body. Yet they're thrown into the long grass by the Ministry of Defence.
Am I also correct in saying that Boeing have started their compensation?
Well, some people have been paid out. But here, I worked for British Aerospace. I was in the military, but I worked for British Aerospace when I had my first fume event. They had known about this, and they'd done a secret out-of-court settlement with ANSA over these toxic fumes. Yet that secret settlement was denied following a House of Lords inquiry, and the finding was withheld from the Australian Senate inquiry. I'll send you that paper. You can read it.
You see, this is where this chat GPT comes into its own. If you were to get registered with them and then put just a small paragraph into them saying, look, blah 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 blah, there, this is what's happened to me. Could you please advise me of what do you think is the best way forward? And within 2 minutes, they will be back to you to say, well, firstly, this should not have happened, and it's wicked. What we suggest that you do now is to do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and there you start a new ball game, my boy. And if you really want the king's crown, you're going to have to do it.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. It was very interesting to watch as this attack. It was awful when even Somerset Police did this. They did not expect me to leave that police custody cell. They wanted me there. They wanted me sectioned, and they wanted me to disappear in a secure mental ward, medicated, and I would have died. But it was interesting. The psychiatrist, the chief medical officer, Professor Daniel Merrion, consultant psychiatrist, he didn't buy into these allegations. Neither did Dr. Upperdale, consultant psychiatrist. They didn't buy into it. But these mental health nurses, they attacked me. Like I say, I've got it here. Reference Leonard Lawrence by Tanya Paul, registered nurse, mental health, Somerset NHS Trust. Time entered 19:01, 27 seconds. Enter date 5th of May 22. Has come to the attention of the secondary services, having been arrested and brought for questioning for multiple threats to use anthrax on people, and also threatening behaviour towards a High Court judge. Well, those are not one of the people who had been involved in my safeguarding, held a senior rank at or above Chief Superintendent in counter-terrorism and other roles. And as he said, Len, if you're guilty, then so am I, and let's take us both to court. And they never expected me to find this, Alan, but because of this subject accessed and the appeal and the Information Commissioner granting that appeal, I found out what was going on. Well, if that's gone on to me, Alan, how many other people has this been?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah.
And what we've got is a process where the police, I see it, using mental health to neutralize cases and send these people down the mental health route, thereby reducing the crime figures and shutting down cases they don't want to investigate. But even as Somerset were very clear, this attack came on the instructions of Thames Valley Police. Yeah.
Is that the same crowd that were doing Jimmy Savile? Oh, that was Surrey, wasn't it?
That was Surrey, but the chief constable actually.
Was that Surrey or sorry?
It was Surrey, and the chief constable Tim DeMeyer actually worked for Thames Valley as an assistant chief. They're all closely linked, but fortunately, because this allegation was so serious, when I found out about it, for the benefit of Tanya, Paul, and anyone else, I was in contact with the secondary services, and this particular allegation, I spoke with and sent it to MI5 and Commander Richard Smith, the head of SO15, the anti-terrorist branch, because it's put me at significant risk that someone reading this could send a counter-terrorism squad to my house anytime, and I could be shot and the policeman could be charged with murder. That's how dangerous this is.
Is it possible to comment? I'm just going back to toxic air quickly, and then one more thing. I do believe we've still got a problem with the modern planes. The 787, sorry, the Yeah, the Dreamliner is a perfect example of a good plane. I've been on a few. I've had no problems at all. But recently, going to Egypt, I went on a 737. Now, it's the new 737 Boeing Max. And absolutely, did I get a headache after they'd, not during the flight, but I said this last time. The captain said to me, when we stop, when we've landed, we stop, we turn off all the filters and that, and I bloody got a headache. And he said it's not normal; it must be a maintenance issue. But at the end of the day, that's still not right on a modern jet. Going back to Amtrak's, would you believe it? The chat AI has just told me, because they're quick and clever, the last person before Len Lawrence that got allegations of Amtrak's was somebody or many people during the 911 Amtrak's mail. So basically, no one's ever been charged or threatened with that. Only Len Lawrence and the 911 hoaxes, the Amtrak's letters.
If you look,
what coincidence?
no, there's a man called Javish Sheikh.
Oh, okay.
Who was allegedly responsible for creating a website called His Honour Judge Simon Oliver Judges Behaving Badly. And it was alleged that a sheikh had made allegations of anthrax threats, I think, believed towards Oliver. It was never proven, and that he's been tarnished with that. Isn't it interesting that myself, who's also in conflict with Oliver, has had the same allegation made against him?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I'm amazed that when anthrax was officially raised and purported that you were behind this, you should have been locked up and have the key thrown away. And that, I'm not saying you deserve that, but that's what would normally happen. So is the severity of anthrax.
Yeah, it is. Well, we know a lot about it. There was the Japanese attack on the Japanese subway, wasn't there, where that occurred, and the dangers. But it is a word you don't mention, because
absolutely not.
It's putting you at risk, and it's putting anyone else at risk. But this mental health nurse put this on my medical records. Now, when you assert something, you need to evidence it. So I am going to butcher, where did it come from?
Again, you see, Len, this is what you need to be saying to AI. You really do, mate. And the thing is, these people, they don't, these persons or these whoever's running AI, they don't need to take a break. They don't need a toilet break. They don't need a sandwich break. They don't need breakfast. They don't need dinner. They don't need holiday. It is absolutely incredible. And it is free. It is free.
No, Simon Oliver, I know too much about his victims. I knew too much about what's been done to these children, these elderly people, these mothers. And he wants me silence. But whilst we got some incredibly unpleasant policemen and women out there, and particularly Jason Hogg from Thames Valley, the chief who's withholding the evidence which would clear me. There are, however, good coppers out there and undermining their superiors. But the trouble is they have to do it discreetly, because they will lose their job. And as for the Independent Office of Police Conduct, they could not conduct themselves, let alone anyone else. And the files with the Southwest Office of the Independent Police Complaints Authority will not let me have, again, using a subject access request and going to appeal with the Information Commissioner's Office. I've got the data they won't let me have. and Avon and Somerset Police haven't disclosed that data to me yet. And what it was, shortly before my arrest, a PC and also a detective superintendent and the detective inspector in professional standards were investigating His Honour Judge Simon Oliver, the Court of Appeal and the Court of Protection. And importantly, they were investigating Chief Superintendent Claire Arms, Head of Operational Support, Avon and Somerset Police. And they made a finding against Chief Superintendent Claire Arms for the obstruction of justice in my case involving Simon Oliver, the Court of Appeal and the Court of Protection. But I was never told this. And what had happened, the professional standards sent it to the IOPC, where a caseworker decided he would send it back to the to Avon and Somerset Police for a local resolution. That local resolution resulted, without my consent and without him telling me about this findings, resulted in the detective superintendent and detective inspector being removed from their investigation, and then the attempt made to section me. There she is, Claire Arms. She has a previous history for the obstruction of justice in my case, going back to when she was a superintendent in 2013 with Devon and Cornwall Police. She hit the Premier League there, where she decided she sent me a file on another person's case, totally unrelated to my case, an investigation file into a third party. I've got
Well, that's unlawful to start with.
Well, they can have it back. Yeah, the names, all the officers, all the investigating officers, the names of the European individuals, and it was all to do with fraud. Yeah, she sent me that file. So when I went back to her force, they believed that she sent my file to one of the people involved in this litigation and investigation. So yeah, all my files were lost. But then she moved to Avon and Somerset. She was in post when the Bristol riots took place and the body cameras were deleted. She was in place when the veterans camp, PTSD camp Bath, was raided by 200 police. And what a disaster on terrorism allegations. And they were cleared of all these. And she was in charge of investigation and police custody when my house got raided and the attempt made to section me. 48 hours after that raid on my house, she was stood down from her post and transferred to the College of Policing, where she now works as an instructor out of public policing.
But the truth of the matter is she should not be in the employment, should she?
No, she'd be charged. There she is. You can see her. There we are. If you look on the bottom, plus in Y, Detective Superintendent Claire Arms sent me a confidential police file on Mr. Joseph Miles. I still had that files. I did contact Devon and Cornwall to return that police files to them, but they haven't came back to me. Maybe I should send that file to the Information Commissioner.
Well, that's a waste of time, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it could be.
I would give her a job as a toilet cleaner or washing up at a hotel. I certainly wouldn't let her train police officers.
Absolutely not, Andy. Yeah.
I won't make any
Beggars belief what's going on there.
But she's in a position to pull the strings. One of the persons guarding my cell, a PC, he knew Claire Arms. She was in charge of custody and she is responsible. And she can now explain why all the custody tapes were deleted, all but one, when I'd made allegedly, I'm accused of making multiple threats against the public of anthrax attacks and threats to a High Court judge. It doesn't ring right why the police would delete all the custody tapes, would they?
Len, can I please have your permission on your behalf to kick this off with AI?
Yeah, please. Like I say, a lot of people have helped me, and I suffered a lot. People tell me with the brain injury and everything else, and ending up homeless. But I've been lucky because people eventually came to my rescue and helped me. And I was under a specialist brain injury organization. You're lucky if you get 6 months, if you even get 6 months of neuro rehabilitation. I had more than 12 years, and it was only because I got relocated to Somerset that umbrella fact then no longer protected me. And that is when they seized the opportunity to attack me. And they did, they attacked me viciously. Um, yeah, that's
It says she's in Warwickshire in 2025.
is she?
Claire Arms joined Warwickshire Police as Assistant Chief
Ooh.
Constable in March 2025.
Oh, that's nice. She's got a promotion.
She began her policing journey as a Special Constable in Torquay. She went to join Devon and Cornwall. I'm just doing it quickly. Over the next 19 years, she experienced a lot of roles, custody, intelligence, blah, blah, blah. And now she's in...
So she's in Warwickshire as an Assistant Chief Constable. Well,
yep.
Now she's surfaced. She can answer the questions, can't she?
I'll send you the link just in case.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful.
You don't get it,
She was the Assistant Chief. She was in charge when I was there, and she was in charge of custody.
I blame AI for all this. They told me where she was.
I can tell you something. This AI is going to be one of the next wonders of the world. It is incredible. Can you imagine all these inquiries that's going on? I mean, there's a dozen inquiries going on at this moment in time, and a dozen that's been done and done wrongly. They could do all this and within hours, not days. They could take over the role of the information commissioner. They could take over the role of the CPS because they've got this ability. I mean, you can't believe it that there isn't a person, a human being, involved in this. The only humans involved is the likes of Dransfield and you guys. Now, tell me, Andy, are you in the vexation squad?
I'm lucky not to be. I've not asked enough questions. But can I just compliment you for, put it this way, Chat GMT is absolutely wonderful. But the AI overview on Google, it does say, and we're not knocking it because there are only issues that they face. AI faces numerous challenges, including ethical concerns like bias, privacy violations, job displacement, because most things are automated, and security risks. Additionally, this is one for you: the lack of transparency, accountability, and so on. So there is a few issues, but I put it down to it's a new job. Somebody's trying to learn the new job, and when they find out all the problems, it should be good.
Yeah, but the thing is, I like to ask the question: who, the person, male or female, is responsible for the use or the approval of the use of this business? Because it is a robot at this moment in time. I don't know if you was watching it. I'll watch it later on Channel 4 in Scandinavia, where they've got all this AI business. It's running. There's no miners anymore. They've got little robots that's going in with a pick and an axe, or a little dog that's going in and scratching it all out. It really is phenomenal. And I take my hat off to it, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm looking back at Claire Arms. Like I said, 2013, she was responsible for a full century on following a hearing, Simon Oliver, and his instructions to the Court of Appeal that my appeal fails. Thames Valley asked Devon and Cornwall to come out and see me. It was alleged by PC Emma Story Barrett, or PC Packer she was at the time, that she came out, saw me, spoke to me at length. That was an absolute lie. And the force admitted it was a lie. She never came. And Arms covered it up. And then what happens? She services Avon and Somerset Police. And again, the attack on me involves Claire Arms. And they were looking at this. They'd found her guilty, professional standards for the obstruction of justice in my case. They send it to the IOPC. They send it back for a local resolution. The three officers are removed. And the attempt made to section me. That's the reality of Claire Arms, but she's done it.
She's still a copper.
She's still a copper.
A bent one.
Yes.
And I've just found something else on Claire. 38 officers complete the UK's supported RSIPF Female Leadership Development course. Basically, out of millions of people who are police officers in the UK, or thousands that are female, only 38 could pass this course, and she's one of them. And that's got to be a fix somehow.
Yeah, it is.
It must be something gay going on. I'm not against gay, but you know.
No, there's something. You're close, Andy. It's not that. There's a lady who's whistleblowed all about it, and yeah, it's much bigger than that.
Right, my friends, I'm going to call it a day now. Thank you very much for both of you. It's always nice to chat. I'm going to get on to AI as we speak, and you know, I feel so sorry for my buddy Shaz, because he can't use this AI. He can't really be seen to rock in the boat, because he knows that they will kill his brother, and so they're holding him to ransom. And you can't believe that this city of culture is doing this at this moment in time.
I mean, it's very similar what they did to me. It was only the fact that Wing Commander, consultant psychiatrist Gordon Turnbull intervened, and others, that I got rescued. Otherwise, I would have been dead.
Yeah.
And again, this
just as a question, can't somebody else try and help her good brother by doing the same thing? You know, it doesn't have to be him.
Well, again, it was, look at the Maggie Tuttle, her son. And what they don't like is the publicity, Andy. When people get put in secure mental health hospitals, I can remember a scenario taking place where they would ring up the hospitals, all these people, and eventually these people would get released. And
I've done that twice.
Yeah,
Carol Woods and Suzanne.
Yeah, remember that.
Suzanne Kellner.
Yeah, I remember Carol, and it's that they don't want to take you through the courts. Their preferred methods is mental health. And whilst there are some unpleasant psychiatrists, some of whom I met, there are also some very good psychiatrists. But in my experience, this Somerset NHS Trust, it was, when you read these comments, this just didn't happen. This was planned. And there's so many comments, but they don't want to engage now. They wanted to engage with me, but when I didn't know about what they'd written. A woman called Van Leer, Alison Van Leer, mental health nurse, wanted a Zoom conference. It would have been helpful if Alison Van Leer would have told me about the allegations that had been made against me, so I could have a much greater understanding. But they don't. But not many people will escape the mental health system once in it, and it's an amazing way of silencing people.
Well, back to Shaz, you know, what happened to him is Yeah, we've had the people like Maggie, we've had Mike and his mum, we've
Yeah,
had Peter
right.
and his mum.
Yeah,
They've been very traumatic cases, but if there was one case that stood out amongst them all that was more horrific than any, especially with him being of Pakistan origin, I think it's poor old Shaz's case sticks out being the worst case I've ever known in history.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's these threats of civil restraint orders, extended civil restraint orders, the seizure of all your assets, how you come under attack by revenue and customs, how you come under attack by the police, by the DWP, by the health services. It's an organized structure to attack you.
And do you know
Absolutely.
what? Before we go, just one last comment on Shaz. What makes me humble, I don't know if that's the right word, but he's been through all this. He's lost all his properties. He's lost everything, but he's still strong, and he's still fighting for his one thing that he's got left. What an amazing guy!
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
But like I say, his experience is very like mine. Once you're in that system, you try and get someone out, and you could go to court hearings, and you'll get massive fines or cost orders at the end of those court hearings. One of the judges involved in Shaz's case was involved in my case, well, his chambers was.
Well, it was very similar with Shaz and Robbie Pictel. They both got jail time.
Yeah, yeah,
And they did jail. They did porridge. And then they come out and then they're attacked again.
yeah, they are. But there's too many.
You've been attacked.
Yeah, too many. Like I say, this anthrax allegation could have got me a life